Welcome everyone to our webinar on our AtlantECO Toolkit launch. We are very happy to have you all here today, especially the teachers that would like to use this material on their classroom and also would like to be interested today to dive deep into the work done during this project on ocean literacy ever since the AtlantECO project started. So my name is Ana Vitória. I'm Associate Program Specialist at the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, and I will be guiding you today, so moderating this session, and explore with you how this toolkit was developed, how we reached to the content that is present on the last version of the toolkit, and how we collaborated with diverse stakeholders, but also partners to develop these materials. We took more than 2 years to develop this toolkit, so it was an immense work that was created behind. And today you will understand a bit of this process as well, and also with who we collaborated to develop this material. So this toolkit was conceived as an extensive and collaborative process with a lot of stakeholders. We received many feedbacks, especially from the educational experts and the collaborators on marine sciences, as well scientific partners from AtlantECO. Some of them will be able to participate in this session with us today, so you will understand a bit also the faces of who is behind the process and the perspectives, the different types of perspectives of ocean literacy that we wanted to bring to this toolkit as well. I will give you also a brief introduction to the AtlantECO project, but without being too long, because we have as well with us Daniela Ludicone, who is the coordinator of the project. But the AtlantECO project is a EU-funded project that aims to develop and apply a novel and unifying framework that provides knowledge-based resources for a better understanding and management of the Atlantic Ocean and its ecosystem services. So the project is a scientific project, mainly focused on 3 pillars of research: microbiomes, plastics, and the plastosphere, as well as seascape connectivity. In this toolkit, we also brought some of those topics that can be highly complex to the educational community, to teachers mainly. So we tried also to explain those concepts to teachers on a way that they can bring later this material to their classroom. So the toolkits that we developed during the years of the project AtlantECO, they were also developed for teachers. So it's a material that we mainly had high school teachers in our minds as a target when we developed it, and we wanted somehow to adapt the principles of ocean literacy to the Atlantic. And you will be able also today to understand how, with the speaker's presentation, how you can also use this toolkit in the classroom. So some reminders prior our start today, so our launch. You can use the questions and answers tool that you find below here in your screen. So if you want to make a question directly to a speaker, you can use this tool or write directly on the chat the question that you have for a speaker. And also you can use the chat to introduce from where you are, from where you're speaking, and also if you are a teacher. So use those tools so we can also better interact with each other during the session. And today during this webinar session, we will cover the process of how we created this toolkit, how we engaged the 3 communities that are part of the AtlantECO project, so South Africa, Brazil, and also the countries of the European Union, how to use the toolkit in your classroom, aspects of multidisciplinary learning, and how you can also become part of the Blue Schools network in your local context. So you can also use the materials that you see here today to create a project and later make your school blue with the Blue Schools program. So our intention also with this toolkit is for you to be able to create a long-term project in your classroom, and that you can also use the ocean contents that we developed for a longer period, engaging the students and the local community on that. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor now to Daniele Ludicone, the coordinator of AtlantECO, who will bring us a presentation on what the context of this project is. So Daniele, please.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Victoria, for introducing me. And so I'm, sorry, I'm a researcher, I'm an oceanographer. I work at Stazione Zoologica in Naples, in Italy, which is an institute dedicated to studying marine biology. And I will give you a very brief perspective on this European project that I coordinate together with Stéphane Pesin. And so I go to the point. So our project is essentially dedicated to the Atlantic microbiome. The microbiome is a concept that has been introduced quite recently. So microbiome, for instance, is living in our guts, right, or in our mouth, or almost everywhere on our body. So basically, we live together many microorganisms, very small, tiny, that we cannot see actually, but they're very important for our health. Now, if you go at sea and you swim in the sea, you are probably going to drink some water. And when you drink some water, you're actually drinking a soup of many kinds of different organisms. They live everywhere in the ocean. They're very small, and which constitute the equivalent of our gut microbiome for the oceans, from the ocean, life in the ocean. These small, tiny microorganisms, bacteria, small algae, small animals, and others are very important for many reasons. One of that is that they are the base of the trophic food web. So basically, small animals eat the plankton, microbiome, and then they are eaten by bigger animals, etc. So basically, it's the base that feeds the entire trophic web in the ocean. But they are also very important, for instance, in the uptake of carbon from the atmosphere, because to grow, for instance, the algae, the microalgae that are part of the microbiome, they need to take some carbon, and they need carbon, and they take the carbon partially from the atmosphere. So they are important for the climate, regulating the climate. And but also they impact the water quality. They impact, some of those are dangerous actually, so they can cause problems to aquaculture, tourism. So it's very important to know how the microbiome works, who are the main actors of this microbiome, and what is important to know is that the microbiome is made by organisms of many sizes. So they are very tiny viruses, which are actually not strictly organisms, but they're very important in the ocean and very abundant, and very important for the ocean ecosystems. Then you have bacteria that are 1 micron, so bigger. And then we have so-called protists, which means unicellular organisms, mostly vegetable organisms that are microalgae, which are 100 times typically bigger than bacteria, and 1,000 times or more bigger than viruses. And then we have small animals. So why we want to study this microbiome? The point is that we need to deal with many stresses we are causing as humans to the oceans, because we are changing the climate, but also we are polluting the oceans, for instance, with microplastics or other things. It is very important that we get to a point in which we can inform the policymakers that do the policy and the laws we have to respect on the state of health of the microbiome, and so that they can enact laws and policies that can help protecting microbiome. To do that, so the science has to go and see, observe, understand, and do predictions. And with these predictions, inform the policymakers that will govern somehow the processes, but then there should be actually a loop, a continuous information between science and policy. Okay, so this is one reason why we need this kind of big project. One of the difficulty in dealing with the microbiome is that the microbiome is living in a fluid, water, and this water is moving all the time. It's moving at the scale of the organism, but it's also moving on the scales of kilometers. So in the middle, we have an image from satellite. What you see in color is chlorophyll content in the water, how much life is in the water. This is Tasmania, this is an island. And as you can see, it's not a uniform life. Life is organized into filaments and vortices and tiny structures. And this is given by the fluid, which is circulating. And then if you see on the left, also the large scale, the planetary scale distribution, plankton, temperature, etc., is also regulated by this continuous movement. So it's very difficult. It's very completely different than dealing with the terrestrial ecological systems like deserts, forests, agriculture regions. So basically the challenge we have, if we want to understand and predict the response of the oceanic microbiome to anthropogenic pressures, to the effect of human activities, we have on one side try to understand how the environment works, the physics of the ocean, the chemistry. We have to have a good understanding of the biology of the organism, what happens inside the organism in different environmental conditions, on whether it's warmer or colder, there are more or less nutrients, but also because of the fact that all these organisms, they tend to interact, and not alone, we also have to try to understand how these interactions are important and how they regulate the ecosystem. So basically, we have three challenges that are, each challenge is an important one. And because now we have many tools from the advanced research in biology, especially for human health, we can now combine for the first time different disciplines together. So we have physics of the ocean of the fluid and physics. There is chemistry, there is ecology, so how the species behave. But now we can also go into the organism and looking at the genome, the DNA or the RNA, so that we can really have a sort of global picture of the health of the microbiome by putting together all this information. So the state of health of the single organism, the state of health of the system, the state of health of the global scale. So these are the basic ideas behind AtlantECO. AtlantECO is a European project with 36 partners from all over Europe, and as rarely happens, also from Brazil and from South Africa. We are working together since 4 years, trying to address, as Anna Victoria said, basically to assess the health of the Atlantic microbiome, deriving tools to predict how to respond in the future to climate change, pollution, so that we can plan and change the human activities to reduce the impact of our activities on the ocean. To do that, we have to put together different disciplines, and these disciplines have to talk together all the time. So this is new. It's not one discipline, but it's a multidisciplinary effort where we stay all together, we discuss, we think about new scientific questions, and we try to address these new scientific questions with new tools coming, for instance, from complex system theories, from theoretical physics, from other fields, from bioinformatics, so that we can then try to respond to the answer, to the question we have in a modern way, putting all together. So, as said by Anna Victoria, the three pillars of the project are basically studying the microbiome, but also the microplastics that is floating in the ocean, because the microplastics is also used by many organisms to stick on the plastics and live. So the plastic sphere is a microbiome living on the plastics. And this take into account the fluid, so the connectivity between regions that is provided by the ocean currents. To do that, as I was mentioning, we have to put together in a new way different disciplines, which we have been doing for 4 years now, and provide this information based on knowledge, based on new knowledge to stakeholders, means people that or entities that are interested to our results, because they can change the plans, like in the case of policymakers, but in case of industries, but also citizens. And most importantly, because the different countries have a very different level of infrastructure for doing science, different level of knowledge, one important aspect of AtlantECO is to exchange and build capacity across the Atlantic Ocean. That means to help to have the infrastructure working more or less at the same level. So countries who are infrastructure less developed can profit of a dialogue with other countries where infrastructures are more developed. And also the same is true for formation. More specifically, AtlantECO is organized into activity streams, 4 activity streams. So which means 4 lines of activities. One is to assess and map the microbiome. Another one is to assess, but also forecast what's going to happen in 20 years, in 40 years, in 50 years. So it's going to happen at the end of the century if we continue with our climate change and with our pollution. There is also the need to innovate the tools we use to study the microbiome, to improve knowledge. So new theories about ecology, new approaches coming, for instance, from network theories or other fields of mathematics, informatics, or physics. And importantly, again, sharing capacity. So trying to have a formation for young people to work in this field that is across the different countries, but transfer knowledge, but also do outreach toward schools and other public sectors to try to increase a sort of sensitivity to the fact that we have to protect the oceans and which are the problems the ocean is experiencing and why we need to act. The project is a nice project for many reasons. I think one reason is that we were able to do some expeditions going all around the Atlantic with a series of sailing boats, but also with big oceanographic vessels. We have been studying many phenomena. For instance, what happens to the plume of the Amazon River in the Atlantic, where it is going, what is the impact. We have been working, we went to Antarctica to try to see what is the role of icebergs in feeding the microbiome, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's it, I think, for today. So thank you for being here. I hope you will enjoy the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for bringing this interactive vision of how the project was constructed and developed across those years. So now I would like to call Leila Neft, who is the Scientific Communication Officer from Maris UCT, and she will present to us ocean literacy across the Atlantic, a South African perspective and a case study. So please, Leila, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ana Victoria. Yeah, my signal is a little bit poor, so I do apologize that I have to switch off my video. But lovely to meet everyone, and thank you once again for having me on the panel today. Very excited to be here. So I'm just going to switch my video off, just in case of any interruptions. All right, let me just try and share the screen. Let me know if there are any issues if you can't see the screen.
We can see it.
Okay. Just giving it a second. But yeah, as it's busy loading, my name is Leila Neft. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. And as Ana Victoria has introduced, I'm a marine offshore benthic ecologist and a marine science communication officer. And I'm representing the University of Cape Town specifically working with the interdisciplinary Marine and Antarctic Research Center for Innovation and Sustainability. So for short, if I do mention it in the presentation, I'm also going to name it as MARIS. And I'll be sharing a South African perspective on ocean literacy across the Atlantic. So I just want to know if this screen is working. I think that should be right.
Yeah,
Cool. So just to
perfect.
briefly introduce, thanks so much. Just to briefly introduce, so on the team at UCT MARIS, we've got Professor Marcello Vicky and myself, who work together with various researchers across the Atlantic Ocean on the AtlantECO Project Work Package 9, which aims to focus on ocean literacy across the Atlantic region, aiming to create and making easily accessible resources that are preferably available to the public and are relevant and relevant to our oceans across various nations, languages, and backgrounds for our partnering nations such as Brazil, South Africa, and various European countries. And as we will discuss today, the Ocean Literacy Toolkit is one of these resources that we've partnered up with UNESCO to produce specifically for teachers to use within the classroom. But we'll dive into that a little bit later. I just want to give you a brief background or historical background on education in South Africa. I've mentioned there that South Africa's got a rich and diverse history. There is the apartheid era, which played an important factor in how the education system worked, and actually still has an impact on how the educational system works within South Africa today. Just to briefly mention, this apartheid regime was enforced by the National Party, which was an all-white government that dictated where people could work, where they could go to school, who they could associate with. It was quite a hectic time. But as you can see in some of these images on the screen, there's a clear segregation of communities. And across South Africa's coastline, you could clearly see, even up until today, for those who live close to the beach, they are either the richest of the rich or the poorest of the poor. And the ocean can become an everyday kind of thing for them. But for many others, especially those who live within disadvantaged communities or those that stay inland, most often only get the opportunity to visit the ocean, possibly only once a year. And most of the time, that would usually be around the festive season in December. So on a global, on a global scale, many countries such as South Africa have lower levels of ocean literacy, or should I say an understanding of the ocean and how it influences humans and the surrounding environment, especially for communities that live further inland. And this can pose as a barrier in creating ocean-engaged citizens. So in South Africa, making marine knowledge and conservation accessible to the general public, especially with local underprivileged communities, it can be a bit of a tricky task, as many of them are not always interested in what scientists have to share, maybe because their values or daily needs may be a bit different than what scientists have to share or pose as an interest for them. But I think it's so important that we also engage with local communities, and it needs to be a two-way conversation. There's so much that we can also learn from these Indigenous and local communities. But despite these public general posters or textbooks and field guides that one can find in a bookshop, there are also several marine-focused organizations that operate within South Africa, which focus on creating ocean awareness. And this has been very helpful in terms of communicating the importance of our ocean. However, it may not be enough to reach the wider parts of our country. So just to briefly touch on one of the case studies that you will find in the Ocean Literacy Toolkit, Last year in 2023, we had a master's student, Ms. Rituja Bansot. I believe she's present in this meeting today. She represented IMBRC, where her study aimed to determine and outline the gaps within the existing materials and knowledge of ocean literacy in South Africa, or specifically South African secondary schools, placing more of an emphasis on aspects of the marine microbiome that are central to the AtlantECO project, and with the aim to also create useful resources which can assist marine or environmental educators with teaching various ocean principles and concepts within the classroom. So just to briefly run through some of the steps that she took within a study, she ran a gap analysis on existing literature and resources on the topic of marine microbiomes in South Africa. And unfortunately, we didn't find much literature related to this particular topic. And one of the case studies that we chose to focus on in this project was the South African National Marine Science Curriculum, which was recently initiated across several schools in South Africa from 2019. So we then decided to find out more about the marine science curriculum and reached out to the founders and interviewed Russell Stevens and Xavier Zalstra from the Two Oceans Aquarium in Cape Town to find out a little bit more about the process of starting up this curriculum and, you know, the purpose of it and what all it entails. And they also allowed us to engage with some of the teachers that are involved with teaching this subject. So Rituja then created an online survey questionnaire for these teachers to complete, and we sent it out to about 12 of the schools who taught the subject. Unfortunately, due to limited time, we only heard back from a few of the teachers, and from their responses, some of them indicated that not all teachers have had an educational background in marine science, which unfortunately does make it a bit challenging for them to teach these marine topics, especially with the concept of marine microbiomes. So they also mentioned that they would prefer to have some sort of assistance with teaching these specific concepts such as marine microbiomes, or looking at the connectivity between microorganisms and ocean processes. And just to briefly just show you what some of the topics that the marine sciences curriculum covers, we've got oceanography, there's marine biology, ecology, and the relationship between humans and the ocean. Yeah, so it's a really great curriculum, but some of the discussion points that Rituja has from her master's is that I'll just mention some of them here. So generally, South African citizens lack the accessibility to formal ocean literature, even though there are few formal and informal ocean initiatives present. The one big thing was there's a lack of capacity in terms of teaching these marine concepts. So it would be great to have more knowledge transfer and hands-on training for these teachers, or for more teachers to come on board to teach the subject. It's really important to consider that various socioeconomic factors across the nation also limits the dissemination of ocean knowledge, but such a tool, such as the toolkit, will be very useful in this case. And we'd love to see that this marine science curriculum can be incorporated in all schools across the South African nation. For this type of study that we've done, it would be great to also see if we can further the research by making sure that it's more inclusive of a larger population size. And it would be great to also get feedback from the marine science learners that have participated within this marine science subject. And just there's obviously from the study, we realized that it's really important to have such a toolkit for educators to use, so that they can also be more comfortable to teach these specific marine concepts. So yeah, a lot of work still needs to be done here in South Africa regarding creating ocean awareness. I feel like we're doing well, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done. And with the assistance of our broader international team, we have now put together relevant resources that can share diverse ocean knowledges and cultures within this toolkit. And as Daniele mentioned earlier on, the AtlantECO project has already created some, various knowledge-based resources for a better understanding and the management of the Atlantic Ocean and its ecosystem services. And experts from the broader international team have assisted with creating a list of useful resources to include in this ocean literacy toolkit, mainly focusing on the 3 topics on the screen that we've mentioned before. So yeah, both Marcello and I have been very happy to contribute to the development of the Ocean Literacy Toolkit and helped edit it along the way and shared necessary resources that are a little bit more relevant to the South African ocean culture and knowledges that tie within the topics that are spoken of in this document. And with the use of this toolkit, we hope to expand and improve ocean literacy rates across the Atlantic region. We also hope that the toolkit will support teachers with these ready-to-use resources to teach and present the Atlantic features to students considering a multidisciplinary approach. So you'll see there's various topics that will be touched on, such as arts, culture, innovation, and there's various other case studies and lesson plans, which you will see in the document. So for those of you who have not seen it yet, please take a second to download the document. And yeah, it is freely accessible online, the UNESCO website. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask me later or contact me via my email. You're welcome to check out the UCT Modis website as well. But thank you very much for your time and for listening to what I have to share on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leila. We later have some questions for you by the end of this webinar. But
Yes.
now I would like to bring our next speakers, who is Mariek Norton, researcher of the University of Cape Town, who will bring us an overview on interdisciplinarity in ocean literacy. Please, Mariek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna Victoria. All right. Apologies, I am now screen sharing.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Hi. Good day, everybody. Thank you so much. It is wonderful to see so many people joining us online today and getting excited about ocean literacy. I would also really like to thank the broader and UCT AtlantECO team for giving me the opportunity to speak today to something that's really very close to my heart. So good day, my name is Mariek Norton, and I am based in the Department of Environmental and Geographical Sciences and in the African Climate Change and Development Initiative at UCT. And my contribution to the toolkit was looking to bring in social science and African examples or aspects into the conversation of those from the North and West Atlantic regions as discussed. So, when I am wearing my researcher hat, I am an ocean anthropologist, or broadly a marine social scientist, or sometimes even a practitioner in the blue humanities, what my son calls a blue human. But I think we all are here today. So that means I look at human and ocean relationships and how these impact how we understand and treat the ocean and each other. So that is where the interdisciplinarity and relationality of my title comes in that, as you can see by the list of topics that Leila showed us on the toolkit, it is a wide range of disciplines that have insight into and have things to share about the ocean. But also we need to work together to learn more, not only about the ocean, but about the people who use the ocean and who depend on the ocean. The relationality aspect with that, it refers to the fact that we all have a relationship with the ocean, whether we know it or not. So I think this toolkit is going to go a long way in surfacing those relations and thinking more deeply about how the whole world is dependent on and reflected in the ocean processes. So my own efforts in understanding how to amplify marine or coastal stewardship has often run into perspectives or actions or behaviors that have a negative effect on the ocean. These are sometimes intentional, but more often than not, these negative effects are accidental. So, as a social scientist, the question that this raises for me is thinking about the ways in which people may care about the ocean that are not immediately visible to either myself as an observing researcher or perhaps even to them. So, put it another way, I ask, why or under what circumstances would they care? I have found that for many people, the ocean is an exciting thing to hear about, and it certainly makes for a beautiful screensaver, but it is an abstract place. It is distinctly not here where we, the humans, are. Many people in the world will never see the ocean with their own eyes. Many of those will never set foot in it, and even fewer still will ever go to sea or explore the underwater. So this is where I talk about the critical necessity of social science to amplify or add to the knowledge of the ocean so that we can draw these connections and surface the unspoken. So here I refer back to some of the anthropology that's been done. And this is a book by Stefan Helmreich, apologies, in which he talks about the sense of the ocean as being separate from our everyday lives and how that colors our ability and willingness to defend the natural world. The ocean is often the blanket that obscures, something that hides the world beneath, the realm, out there. He warns that alienated from the ocean, humanity may be destined to damage it. I would argue or add to that in a reciprocal framing of our relationship with the ocean, particularly in a time of climate crisis, that the ocean could, in turn, be a source of damage to us, should it remain alien to the wider public and certainly the younger generations. So it is perhaps the nature of working in our field during several concurrent crises that makes it all too easy to communicate ocean education in terms of environmental degradation from both the natural science and the social science point of view. Often, when we do frame it as a positive relationship, that is already focused on coastal populations who already have relationships with the ocean. And this is something that Leila was touching on. What does ocean relationality look like? Apologies for slipping slides. What does ocean relationality look like to a child born in our inland, semi-arid Limpopo province, who may only ever set eyes on the ocean once they're an adult, or perhaps even never? What does ocean literacy look like for the child who has never heard of the great African sea forest, but uses everyday products that contain kelp? And how do we communicate the need for pro-environmental behavior in our inland fresh waterways so that our estuaries and outfalls are less damaged and do less damage? So, as you can see here with a broader view of ocean literacy, it is not only about the facts of the ocean, but as evident in this toolkit, it is about how to accommodate people's relationship with the ocean into an understanding of the material, biological, chemical, and physical processes involved, from the right up to the effects it has on our atmospheric circulation, down to the creatures that Daniela presented on in his overview of the microbiome. How do we do so to ensure ocean stewardship, innovation, and multi-species well-being co-evolves into new futures? As Dr. Judy Mann-Lang recently remarked in her keynote at the 7th International Marine Conservation Congress held here in Cape Town, in educating the wider public and specifically the younger generation about the ocean in all its facets, we must first preach love before we teach about loss. Let us allow them to be in wonder first before we ask them to save it. And this is the task that the toolkit undertakes. It showcases the physical aspects of the ocean with clear indications of how terrestrial ecosystems and human health on both a local and global scale are dependent on these systems. Further, it centers the Atlantic's significant role in human development across 3 continents. It does speak to nourishment and energy and livelihoods and microbiomes, yes, but it also speaks to culture, art, belief, spirituality, sense of place, and even sense of personhood. So, in showcasing similar archaeological findings like the Sambaquis in Brazil and the shell middens in South Africa, in bringing to light the history of human movement across the seas and the submerged mountains over which they went or were forcibly taken, in understanding how far into our lives and into our bodies ocean-derived products and microbiota reach, ocean literacy also teaches us about our history, our present, and hopefully our future. It's a perspective into what Dr. Nathan Bennett terms the peopled sea. There are innumerable forms of using, relating to, living with, and depending on the ocean that humanity has tried and has yet to try. So, the story of the Atlantic, the very ocean that myself and my son greet every morning enthusiastically, is not only about what the ocean contains, but very importantly, about what the ocean connects across space, time, and cultures. So, in this toolkit, the alien is made accessible for both the teacher and the student. And through such access, the basis for wonder, and we sincerely hope the basis for care and stewardship is laid. So that is my perspective on how social sciences can add to the marine sciences in really bringing ocean literacy to the fore, making it inclusive and making it relatable across space and time. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mariek, for your overview. It was incredible to see your speaking, because you brought also this poetic vision, and so important as well that we need to nurture with the ocean of a source of inspiration as well. I will be now bringing to you a bit of an overview on how you as a teacher can use the toolkit in your classroom on a more practical point of view. So to start, I would like to bring also a vision on why the ocean is so important to us. Sometimes we might forget, or we might not even reflect so much about it, but the ocean and life on Earth depends deeply on the ocean. So the ocean is our main planet life support system. And oh wait, I think I'm not sharing with you yet. Yes, now I think I am. And the ocean, of course, supports our livelihoods and communities all across the world. So not only with sectors such as aquaculture, tourism, and gastronomy, energy, shipping, pharmaceuticals, but also with many other things that are intangible to us. It's also a source of inspiration. It's our cultures are also rooted in the ocean. So people connect with the ocean in many different ways. And this is something that we tried to bring to this toolkit as well. Not only the scientific perspective, which is highly important, but also the other ways that, in which we connect also emotionally with this place. And despite this huge importance of the ocean and the many different places in which the ocean is present in our lives, the ocean is not yet part of many school contents across the world. So we as UNESCO, we are also working parallelly on that. on supporting schools to have more access to ocean content with the Blue Schools program, and also supporting policymakers on the ministry side, on the Ministry of the Education side, also to understand how they can bring the ocean to the formal educational systems. And that's also a role that we have during the UN Ocean Decade. So since 2017, the UN General Assembly of the United Nations declared this period from 2021 to 2030 to be the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So during this time frame, a lot of attention has come to the ocean, and this has supported as well this acceleration of the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goal 14 for the conservation and use of our ocean, seas, and marine resources. And the Ocean Decade as well aims to facilitate this generation of data so we can move from this knowledge, from this ocean that we have to the ocean that we want, which is an ocean more sustainable as well. And ocean literacy in the sense plays a very essential role, because we see that people sometimes might be a bit disconnected from this essential role that we have of influence on the ocean, but also the influence that the ocean has on our life. So ocean literacy brings this vision, brings also examples on how we can see those interactions. And it's not only for schools, it's for actually everyone, but it has a very specific roles as well for schools and for teachers, in which you can apply with hands-on exercises like our toolkit in the classroom. So we often say as well that an ocean literate person is able to communicate the ocean in a meaningful way, and is able to also make informed and responsible decisions regarding the ocean and its resources. And we use this framework, which is the Ocean Literacy Principles, in the last years as a ocean literacy community. We somehow agreed that those are, very intuitive ways to bring the ocean to many different target groups, also to many different students of different ages. So those are the 7 essential principles that we call. So one is that the earth has one big ocean with many features. 2, the ocean and life in the ocean shape the futures of the earth. 3, the ocean is a major influence on weather and climate. 4, the ocean makes Earth habitable. 5, the ocean supports a great diversity of life in ecosystems. 6, the ocean and humans are inextricably interconnected. And 7, the ocean is largely unexplored. So this is a good framework for you as a teacher to start bringing the ocean to the classroom as well. And in the AtlantECO Toolkit, as Mariette brought in one of her slides, we adapted those principles to the Atlantic Ocean region part. So in the toolkit, you will see, I will not give many spoilers because I also want you to explore this material later. But when you start to read that, you will see that we adapted all of those principles by bringing some features of the Atlantic region to them. So for example, the principle 6 is more connected as well to some aspect of the indigenous cultures. Others are also connected. The one that speaks about the features of the earth are also connected to the features, the geographical features of the Atlantic, which includes, for example, the mid-Atlantic ridge. So those are some of the features of the ocean, of the Atlantic, that we were able to include in the principles, that also make them more accessible for teachers that are in the Atlantic region and that want to bring the content to their students. And this toolkit is then divided in 2 parts. So we have a first part, which is more as an introduction of ocean literacy and its concepts. We also bring some overview on recent achievements on ocean literacy, recent events, recent declarations, such as the Venice Declaration for Ocean Literacy in Action. Also some important projects that were held in the past with important stakeholders that were involved. So here we have a big overview on this movement of ocean literacy, which is international and has many different people participating. We also have this section on the Atlantic Ocean Principles that brings especially the features of the Atlantic to the principles. And we have the ocean dimensions, as we call, and how they can connect with the many disciplines. And I will show you how. And we have another part, which is not more so this is not a more theoretical part, the part one, and the part two, it's more hands-on. So it's a lesson plan part of the toolkit in which you will find many exercises that you can actually do with your class. So there you have all the instructions and all the materials, and you can understand also how to apply this in your classroom with more with more operationally exercises. So those are some examples of the multidisciplinary perspective that we brought on this toolkit. So for example, we try to pick some of the most common disciplines that schools have, such as geography, history, chemistry, arts, culture, but also new ones such as blue economy or even the microbiome. And we brought examples of how the Atlantic Ocean is connected to all of those topics. So on geography part, for example, we have the sambaquis, which are these ancient constructions with origin of indigenous people in South America, especially in Brazil. They are made mainly of shells. So you can see how those features are also connected to history, to geography, to many parts of the littoral area of Brazil. We have as well in a history aspect of the toolkit, some examples such as the Blombos Cave and also the connection of ocean literacy with archaeology and artifacts connected to the ocean. We have some experiments that you can do with your students that touch on the chemistry part. We have an art perspective where you can see how some of the artists in history, but also how new artists are depicting the ocean, are representing the ocean, and especially the Atlantic. And you see also some, if you have the possibility, also some place to visit with your students. We have as well the blue economy aspect. So you will find the importance of the Atlantic islands, the characteristics of those islands, also how they are important and how they move the economy around them. The importance as well of the mangroves, of the coral reefs. So we have as well a section where we talk about the ecosystems. We have a section where we mention as well characteristics from the microbiome, from the plastisphere, as Daniele was mentioning, all of that adapted to schools. And we have a very interesting section on this toolkit, which is also about culture, which is a topic that is not really mentioned very often when we talk about the connection with our connection with the ocean. But we also bring some aspects and some examples of how some human populations, for example, are connected spiritually with the ocean, and how the ocean can have other types of meanings for them as well. So those are some of the examples of this multidisciplinary perspective. And from here, you can also understand which is the type of discipline that you want to connect in your class. So this is the type of overview. When you open the toolkit for the content, you will see that you have a space, of course, with some introduction, but then you have also the connection with the SDGs. You can understand from the toolkits which type of SDG you can connect with this class, and how you can connect this with other teachers, disciplines or subject, for example. You can also understand how the principles of ocean literacy are present on this material that you are bringing to students. And the toolkit is highly interactive. So you find many images, many QR codes with links that will direct you to other websites as well. So when we developed also this material, we had a strong focus on providing ocean-related examples from the Atlantic region, especially from regions that are often not well represented or not well spoken on when we talk about ocean topics. So we brought new examples, different things that you might not be able to find elsewhere. And we also have some case studies from very interesting projects that are taking place in the Atlantic. One example is the Blue Schools Portugal. Another is the Veleiro Eco in Brazil. We also had the AtlantECO port calls, which were an activity that we held during the AtlantECO project in different ports, and the Two Oceans Aquarium in South Africa. So there you will find also examples of educational activities, so you can inspire yourself. And we have as well a section on how ocean literacy is more amply connected to the Agenda 2030. The lesson plans are also quite intuitive to use. So again, you will find the connection to the SDGs, and you will have a focus as well on the UNESCO Education for Sustainable Development learning objectives and perspective, where you can see how you can also support your students to have cognitive learning objectives, social emotional learning objectives, how they can work on competences while doing this type of activity, because we might be collecting plankton, for example, but this might work also on their team skills, on collaboration. So that's something that we also brought to this toolkit, those other dimensions that ocean literacy can have, not only the knowledge one, but also autonomy, confidence, creativity, teamwork, and etc. And how you can bring this as another type of activity in your classroom as well. And the values and attitudes that your students can work as well and can exercise while working on those materials. Each lesson plan is also composed of those sheets, which are exercises sheets, and then here you will find materials that you can print, that you can distribute to your class, that you can really leave it open to your students to write on them. So those are materials that are very practical for you also to use in the classroom directly. We have 9 lesson plans. They have different perspectives, but in many of them we touch on the topic of the microbiome, especially on plankton side. So we have as well this connection with biology, with chemistry, but we have other lesson plans that also have a strong focus on history, on sociology, on philosophy, and you can bring the ocean as well to the students with this one on Darwin, for example, and the Atlantic, with a different type of perspective rather than the scientific one. We also have one lesson plan that touches on gender roles on the Atlantic region. So how especially women perceive this environment and are connected to this environment and are leading as well different types of initiatives on the Atlantic. And we have also others that can be connected to sciences, geography, and so you have a lot of multidisciplinary content here to work with your students. And the good news is also that we have a very interactive material. So as mentioned to you, we have exercises that you can print. We have QR codes that you can use to redirect you to a new website, to a documentary, to a video on YouTube. Also, we have other toolkits that we mention in this material. And we have some maps and illustrations that you can also use, because some parts of the toolkit also illustrate some scientific concepts. This is, for example, the fertilization of the Amazon forest by the Sahara Desert, and also how the dust from the desert interacts with the ocean. So that's something that you can also bring to your students on a geography class, for example, which is highly interactive. But in the toolkit, we have many examples of those illustrations. And you can also inspire yourself by this toolkit. And if you never work at the ocean in the classroom, you can use one lesson plan to create a project and later use this project to apply for a Blue Schools network in your region. Raquel, who is here with us, will present you some possibilities. Also Kogi from South Africa, and also Keiko from Brazil. They will bring you some overview on how you can be part of the Blue Schools network in your country, and you can use one of those activities that are present on our toolkit to create this type of connection. So this will support your school to create structured activities with a clear objective, also with a clear timeline as well. This can support your school to be more connected with different teachers from other parts of the world, but even inside of your country, and can support you as a teacher to maintain this type of activity alive on your school. So the Blue Schools can support you with that, and your efforts in making the environment that you work, so the school that you are, a space more connected to the ocean. Well, this is just to show you, but Raquel will bring on her presentation the Blue Schools representation worldwide. So when we started the AtlantECO project, this was quite a different map. We had only few representations and mainly focused on the Atlantic and as well in the EU. But now the scenario changed a lot. So we have Blue Schools everywhere, and it's good that you can also, if you are from one of those countries or regions represented on the map, you can also look for a national representative of the Blue Schools in your country and create a project. And you can use the AtlantECO Toolkit for doing that. So as part of our strategy of dissemination of this toolkit, we also aim to collaborate more with the Blue Schools networks so they can support us in bringing this material to more and more teachers. Well, thank you so much. And I will pass the floor now to Marta Musso, who is illustrator and supported us in the development of this toolkit and has a very interesting work on multidisciplinary learning. So please, Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ana Victoria, for inviting me, and thank you for including my drawings in the exercises in the toolkit. So let me share and good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen. Yes, I hope everyone can see it. And I should be able to, yes, share. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you, Marta.
There's something wrong with it, but maybe I should keep it like this. I don't know why it's not working. Anyhow, I'm gonna keep it like this maybe. I hope you can all see it. Somehow it's not working as it should, but that's fine. So yeah, I'm gonna do a brief introduction about myself and my project and about my illustrations and why they're inside this amazing toolkit for ocean literacy. So my name is Marta and I'm a marine biologist and illustrator. And yes, this is, I have a scientific background, but actually I've kind of moved into more ocean literacy and ocean communication side. So yes, my project started when I was in Aveiro University. I was researching zooplankton taxonomy, and I always desired to be a scientist and work in research. And there, I really opened my eye to a new environment, which is the microcosm of plankton, which was super fascinating for me and really interesting. But I soon realized that it was very difficult to communicate it to others, and often it was overlooked. So I started kind of figuring out a way to communicate my passion and my work with others, starting from taking pictures of my work and also kind of doodling of the things that I would see under the microscopes. After I finished my bachelor, I decided to start my own science communication project, and which would now call Ocean Literacy Project. The idea was to share awareness about zooplankton and plankton in general, and also share with kids that scientists don't have to stay in a lab all the time, or that also kids can be a scientist inside, like in the just playing outdoors and being curious about the world. So I started doing workshops on plankton in sailing clubs and surf schools, which I think are also quite important when we talk about blue schools, because they're already an environment where kids kind of have this proximity with the water and have, and it's kind of their playground. So they have this kind of wish to know more about it. And I think there we could even implement this ocean education. Yes, this was kind of my first project and kind of ended in 2021. And in 2022, I started my project Sea, or Post from the Sea, which was a similar project, again, about plankton, because that's my kind of the thing that I love the most and I love more sharing, because it's such a niche topic. And yeah, in 2022, I decided to buy a German postman and convert it into a lab and sea library. The idea is to take kind of blue schooling or ocean education, also kind of on the road or outside and in like less conventional places. So outside the school, and also have a kind of a playground where kids can play inside, can play outside, can look at the microscope, but also read a book or play with educational tools. And there I started developing more educational tools, but also kind of little games for kids to play. And also this kind of a map of plankton to just see the diversity and also the beauty of these creatures and how much is there in the ocean that we cannot see. So often we look at the ocean and we see this kind of blue swimming pool, but inside of it, even if there's no big fish or dolphin or turtle, there is an immense quantity of amazing organisms that are hiding behind the waves. Here comes the part that is in the actual toolkit, where you have the exercises of the different life cycles. And this is something that I've been also working on in the past years, because I believe this is something really interesting, not just for kids, but also for adults. And it can tell us a lot about plankton. So when we think about plankton, we think about all these drifters that are kind of very tiny and maybe not so relatable to us, or maybe difficult to see somehow. But I find it fascinating that actually a lot of plankton are also larvae or babies of a lot of the organisms that we see on the coastlines and that kids can see on the coastlines. And these larval stages are very similar to kind of Pokemon somehow, and they have this like very playful way of changing and very different kind of almost special powers. So I find it quite interesting to play with kids to see like what larval stages are related to what organisms, and figuring out also the connection between organisms, like in this case the barnacle that is really connected to other crustaceans, and you can really see it in the life cycle, but maybe not so much when it's a grown adult. And also they teach us a lot on how you can kind of like different lifestyles. So for example, the barnacle can tell us about how to explore when you're young and go for to find a nice rock and then settle down when you're old and find you a nice rock. Or for example, a fish that instead of settling down decides to swim away. So I think it's also quite nice to explore and understand more about this life cycles. So yes, these are something that I've been working on. I'm really sorry about the presentation. It worked before starting the webinar, but somehow it's not working anymore. But this idea of the life cycles, I'm actually developing it into a card game together with the ETH in Zurich, and hopefully will be soon available. The image that apparently you can't see now, again, really sorry. It's a card game together with plankton and climate change, so trying to understand the impact of climate change on these tiny organisms and the cascade effect it can have on all the food web. And yeah, so very excited to also work in this now and soon finishing it. And to kind of close up the whole thing, back in research, and I am working on jellyfish distribution and plankton kind of diversity and distribution, and keeping this kind of science education and science communication side, which I find really interesting. And it's really amazing how this ocean literacy path has taken me kind of to understand that I can both be a scientist and also do science communication, which before I thought it was not possible. So yeah, again, apologies for this presentation that didn't work so well, but thank you for listening, and yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Marta Musso. So yes, for everyone, the big part of the illustrations that were done for this toolkit, they were provided by Marta, and it's a very nice way also to represent the life cycle of the microbiome, for example, because that's a difficult type of drawing to find. So it's very good that she has this specialized work on the topic. It helped us a lot on creating the lesson plans, for example. And now I would like to call Raquel Costa, who is the founder of the Blue Schools concept and also the coordinator of the Blue Schools Global Network with me in IOC UNESCO. So welcome, Raquel.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ana Vitória, for inviting me to participate in this webinar. I will share my screen now. Well. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ana. So, hello to everyone. My name is Raquel Costa. I'm working as a consultant for IOC UNESCO, and I'm also a member of the group of experts of ocean literacy. Today, I'm willing to present you the Blue School program. It's a worldwide effort that we are doing to help teachers and students to connect with and to learn about the ocean. You listen to Anna and to Marieke, and so the other palustrants about why does the ocean matter for all of us, but also I'm bringing to you why ocean matters and why do we want to include it on our schools globally. Well, you know that every breath you take, every drop of water you drink, every experience with climate change is connected to the sea. You know everything of that, but anyway, the only aspects that I want to bring you is the need to change our behaviors. It's not only about knowing, it's not only about be engaged in a few actions in our lives, but we need to change our attitudes and be in our behaviors in everyday life. So that's why we think it's important to begin in a scholar context. Sorry. So now we are building a Blue School global network because we already have some Blue School networks around the world, national and regional ones. And we think it's the moment now to bring all of this, all the community together. So our vision to this global network is that we want to make ocean learning part of education everywhere, in every country. So we are working to connect schools with ocean experts, with professionals, and even with blue industry to make learning more hands-on and more connected to the real world. And this is through the National Blue School coordinations. So by doing this, we are also supporting the SDG 4 and 14 and 17. And for this, we hope to bridging the schools and the educational communities with the marine and maritime sectors. We think this is very important because you are teaching in schools and you need some help, and they need to understand that they can contribute to ocean literacy and contribute to their local communities. So we are doing this type of bridge in several countries. Well, the main goals for the Global Blue School is we can synthesize this in four main goals. First, to set a clear idea of what being a blue school means, because we have already some blue school national coordinators established, but we need to have a common ground for everyone. The second is to boost teamwork across countries, between schools and ocean partners. Third, to support local teams that bring our global goals into their schools. And the last, to make ocean learning a key part of schools everywhere. So if you see the diagram in the right part of the slide, you can see that this type of network is not only about schools, but it's about inviting stakeholders and partners, have an advisory board to help us with some expertises in science, in social science, and in education. So this is a real network, with a lot of different people. So again, Anna has shown this map. This is the where we are around the globe for now. A lot of countries are from the Atlantic, because we have a regional network. It called All Atlantic Blue Schools, but we have also an European network, and we are establishing a Caribbean network as well. But anyway, the other countries have their own national coordinators, and we are helping a lot of them to establish a good team to work with you and with the schools. So to become a blue school, a school need to achieve some criteria. There are 5 simple criteria that we discussed and defined for everyone. So the first one is learning about the ocean, but trying to find an ocean issue that is important to the local community or to the students, like a local issue that then you can relate to the global ones. So the second one is we foster teachers to use an interdisciplinary approach to explore the ocean. We saw today that we have 7 ocean literacy principles that are the framework to ocean literacy since 2005. But nowadays, we can see ocean literacy as a more holistic concept. So in our perspective, to study more holistically way the ocean, it's better for students. So the idea is to work the scientific approach, but also the artistic approach, or the values, or even the history or geography approach, and use different visions to work about the ocean. The third is to involve students from different ages and for different classes, because to define a blue school as a blue school, we need to have more than one classroom working on the ocean. And then inspire students to become active citizens. This is a very, very important criteria for us, because it's for us, the blue schools are not only schools that are knowing more about the ocean, but they are acting as citizens to have a better world. And the last one, it's engage the local community in their projects. So these are the criteria to become a blue school. And how to become a blue school? Well, if you are a teacher from a country with a national coordinator, it's easy. You define your school project based on those criteria I presented now. You create a project with your colleagues and even with your students. It's better to include them since the beginning. Then you fill the application form and submit it to the national coordination. It will depend on the country, the way you are working with them, but we can talk about it later if you want. So the national coordination will review your application, and they will do some recommendation or not. If not, you will receive the certification since the beginning. If you need to change something in the project, you interact with the national coordination, and resubmit again when the national coordinator tell you that it's okay. So when your project is accepted, you are a blue school. You need to make sure that you will communicate your achievements with the national coordinators, but the best of being a blue school, in our opinion, and for the teachers that we talk with, it's the sense of community. It's the way you can work on ocean issues with some help from the national coordinators and also from the stakeholders that are in the network. So why is it important to teach about the ocean? If you use this way of teach about the ocean that we instill in the blue schools, you can instill a sense of responsibility in your students, encourage them to act in a sustainable way. You can promote real world connections with the partners, for example, link the ocean lessons to global issues, to other global issues, highlights how students' choice affects global ecosystems. And for the more important, in my opinion, is that you can develop critical thinking and problem solving using this type of approach. So to be part of our Blue School community, you need only to find your national focal points in the country, reflect with your colleagues and with your students and find your blue, find your problem, your issue, engage with the school partners and use the resources that as this toolkit or ocean literacy portals or even some changing between teachers and the national focal points will help you with a lot of different resources that we have. But to the end and to close my presentation, let me tell you this. Beyond all our learning and projects and resources and so on, it's for us, it's the connection we make that truly matter. So this image represents our journey together in the Blue School Network. It's about meeting new people, sharing experiences, and building a community that supports and learns from one another. So if you want to join this community, you are very welcome. And you have my email in this slide, and you can email me to have more information. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raquel. And I absolutely agree with you that the sense of community makes the complete shift on this type of project and makes the whole difference. So now we will hear from Koji Govender from the Blue School South Africa. She's the coordinator of the Blue Schools in South Africa. And we will hear more on how this process was established and also how you, if you are a teacher from South Africa, can be part. So please, Kogi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very, very much, Anna. I'm Kogi Govender from the South African Environmental Observation Network, SEON, which is a business unit of the National Research Foundation. But before I start, I want to congratulate the AtlantECO team for an excellent and engaging resource. We'll definitely get our Blue Schools educators to dive deep into this marine treasure trove resource. So well done to the team at AtlantECO. So in South Africa, the South African Environmental Observation Network is the national coordinator for Blue Schools. So where and why did this journey begin? So we were part of an EU-funded project called ANCOR, and we were working in a work package on ocean literacy. And it was during our journey as part of the ANCOR project, we found out about the Blue Schools that were started in Portugal. And then we decided as a team from different countries, Brazil, South Africa, that we should be part of this Blue Schools project. And then we did some implementations as pilots in South Africa. It was during COVID, so we had all our programs online. And thereafter, we started running this in person. So I must thank the Department of Science and Innovation in South Africa because they are the ones that fund this Blue School program in South Africa. So I won't go and delve into the challenges because we heard from Marike and Leila from South Africa about the challenges in our educational system. But due to the same challenges, we wanted to implement Blue Schools in South Africa. So some of them was overcoming barriers to ocean access and experience. So we have learners from inland schools that have no connections to the oceans and didn't have any understanding how they connect to oceans through rivers. Emotional connections to the ocean, we found lagging as well. And we wanted to also reduce the psychological and geographical distance between everyday life and the ocean. Also, we wanted learners from disadvantaged backgrounds, from no fee-paying schools, to take up careers in the various marine fields, inclusive of marine sciences, because we all know that we need to do science for the ocean that we want. So this was the thinking behind us implementing the Blue Schools program in South Africa. So the nice thing about, as part of this anchor, when we started the All Atlantic Blue Schools program, each country could implement this Blue Schools program the way that they found it would benefit the beneficiaries that they were working with. So there was no one size fits all, which was really great. So we could become creative and also include our cultural connections into this program. So before we started this online workshops, we had a co-design approach. We invited stakeholders, these are educators, for an online workshop, and they joined us and we shared what our thoughts are with regards to this workshop, and they were very receptive. They also gave us ideas on what they would want to see in these workshops as part of Blue Schools. So for us, it's very important that we acknowledge the diverse knowledge forms that are brought into a learning program, and we also value these forms of knowledge. Then we implemented educator workshops, both online and in person, even during this financial year. We had both online and in-person workshops because some of our educators don't have the privileges of joining an online workshop because they don't have internet connectivity or a device to join in. Then we integrate local and indigenous knowledge. So there's an NGO called Ocean Up. They're doing a lot of work producing case studies, videos, and so on. So we integrate all this local knowledge into our programs. And then we try to bridge the geographic location to our oceans by working a lot with inland learners. And we know that rivers connect to the ocean. So as part of our activities, we developed a river ocean activity in our portfolio book. And then we also look at the social cultural services that the ocean provides. So on my top right, the photo there is of two educators during our 2024 Blue Schools Conference, sharing their reflections on what they have learned by being part of this Blue Schools Conference. And one of the things that they told us was that they had a computer room and they never used it until they started being part of the Blue Schools program, because their learners had to type out their research project and they had to get some assistance to learn how to do these use the Microsoft packages. And on my bottom, the photo there is a learner from an art competition that we held, and this learner is showing us how they connect to the ocean socio-culturally, and how does his community connect to the ocean, from fishing to spiritual connections with the ocean. So when we start this Blue Schools program on a yearly basis, we do an ocean literacy quiz, the diagnostic test, so that we understand the ocean literacy levels of people coming to the program and how through this program we can bridge these gaps. We also bring about scientific knowledge. And on the top there, there's a photo of my colleague, Thomas Mtonsi. He's here on the call, running a coding workshop for participants of the Blue Schools Conference. And then we also strive to make sure that there is data fluency with the beneficiaries that we are working with. And we created a Blue Schools portfolio booklet that you can access on our SEON Education website. And on a yearly basis, we change the activities on the Blue Schools booklet. And in our Blue Schools booklet, we also have local case studies that promote trusted ocean governance. And we also use technology through ocean games that we have created. And this also can be accessed on the SEON Education website, which I'll give you the details of later on. And then we have a yearly conference. So we get learners submitting their portfolio booklet as well as their research project. Then my colleagues at SEON goes through all these research projects and all the portfolio booklets, and we score these learners. And the top 10 performing learners and educators get invited to our yearly conference. And we couple it with a field trip, because many of these learners don't get to connect to the ocean. And some of these learners that come to these Blue Schools Conference inland learners. So the first day, it's a field trip where they connect with each other as well as they connect with the ocean, because many of these learners meet each other for the first time during this conference. And then during the conference, learners present on the research projects. It was really interesting to hear from Martha on the work that she's doing on plankton. Excuse me. So there is a learner that's presented on his research on, on plankton during this Blue Schools conference. So I just want to share a short video on a learner's perspective on the Blue Schools from our 2024 conference. This is a learner from KZN supported by our Seon Grasslands node, and her name is Michaela van der Merwe.
Hi, Kogi, we cannot hear the sound.
Sorry about that. Let me share with sound. Anna, I think that function doesn't work on your side. It's not allowing me to share with sound. Can you make me a co-host?
Okay. Let me see. Kogi. I think I don't have this function, Kogi, because I was not the one that created the webinar. But let's do the following. If you can
You
send
are
the
close
link.
now.
Good.
You are
Thank you,
close.
thank you. Thank you, Jenny.
Sure, thanks. I'll just continue with the next slide. Okay, yes, so that was just a reflection of a learner from our 2024 conference. And the learners also speak about the challenges of no access to libraries and resources in some of the areas that we are working. But yet these are the very learners that are able to do really well and come out in the top 10 in our country and attend. So yes, through the Blue Schools program, we also get learners to connect through the ocean, through art. And these are some of the artworks that learners have created. So as Marika said, that the love for the ocean before they learn to take care of the ocean. So we can see from this artwork that many of these learners understand the challenges that we experience in the ocean, and they showcase this through the artwork that they provide. So that is the Blue Schools program in South Africa. So all South Africans that are on this call, we urge you to make contact with us. That is my email address at the bottom. And also for others, that is our Seon Education website. We have really cool marine resources that you could use for your programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kogi. And I was thinking, I mean, if you wish later to send also your video, we can share them with the participants. So you can send me and I send them via email so they can watch it. Wow, everyone. So now we have, we will understand a bit more about the Blue Schools Brazil. And I would like to call Camila Keiko Takahashi, Program Manager of Maré de Ciências Program of the UniFesp, and also co-coordinator of the Blue Schools Brazil. So welcome, Keiko.
Thank you, Ana Victoria. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. I'll share my screen very quickly, and I'll try to be as brief as I can. because of the time, right? Presentation mode. Yeah, so thank you, Victoria, again for the presentation. I'm Keiko. I'm from AtlantECO, that is an extension program from the Federal University here in São Paulo. BlueSchool Brazil, it's co-coordinated by AtlantECO, the Ministry of Science, Technology, Innovation, and UNESCO over here. Just a brief overview, we started in 2021 with a pilot project with 15 BlueSchools, mainly from the Southeast region here in Brazil. And by 2024, right now, we have like over 300 BlueSchools across the 5 regions, Brazil, and it sums up a little bit over 100,000 students within the schools working their own personalized, localized ocean literacy project. So we have clear and objective essential criteria. There are 3. 1, work with ocean theme related topic. 2, evolve at least 2 disciplines. And 3, take all the knowledge across and over the community school. We are available for teachers, school coordinators by email, phone, and video calls whenever they can reach us to ask questions and ask doubts and everything. Each school works on a localized ocean literacy, respecting social, environmental, cultural, and economic characteristics, their own characteristics. And AtlantECO, we share all the opportunities and invitations and partnerships available that reach us through the Atlantic BlueSchools and Global BlueSchools, and also other initiatives of marine education. So all the opportunities and invitations are shared in the network in Brazil. We offer as well in our website, it's hosted in our website, based on our website, AtlantECO, inspirational materials and publications, mainly in Portuguese, because here in Brazil, we are speaking Portuguese-speaking people. So, but we have as well other languages, like the Ocean Literacy and Atlantic regions here that is launching. We not just reach schools, but also the local Secretariat of Education and municipalities as well. So this year we had the first municipality in Brazil that included its whole 100% of its municipality education system in the BlueSchool, that is Barcarena in the north region of Brazil. And just to show a little bit of the history of a partnership with AtlantECO that we pleased a lot is from in June 2021, when we were celebrating the signature of the ocean literacy law, the first ocean literacy law in the world that happened in Santos. That expedition was in Santos. So we gathered in a big ocean fair with BlueSchools around here, and it was an amazing celebration to talk about microbiome and a healthy ocean. In June 2023, we had a collaboration with AtlantECO and the AtlantECO BlueSchools Network, where the BlueSchools in Brazil participated to create this ebook. It's a booklet about how was the ocean made. So students from BlueSchools here in Brazil, they asked questions for scientists from the AtlantECO to answer, and it was pretty amazing, really nice, and please reach out. It has a Portuguese version of it as well. It's in AtlantECO website, AtlantECO website, and AtlantECO BlueSchools Network website as well. And recently, in May 2024, we took the ocean inland. So in a partnership with a federal university in São Paulo called UFSCar, that is in São Carlos, in a city far from the sea, like over 300 kilometers away from the sea. They launched a web series called Max and His Friends, Discovering the Sea. And Max, it's a plankton, so it's the main character. And we invited BlueSchools around over there that is far from the sea to talk about this web series and do some activities, scientific activities of looking at the microscope, some plankton. It was pretty fun. And then as the book, the toolkit launched today, talks about the connection with different disciplines. Here in Brazil, we offer the opportunity to the schools to involve, to get engaged in the biggest science fair that we have here. That is the Science and Technology National Week that happens annually. And the challenge is to connect the annual theme of this fair to ocean literacy within their blue schools. So in 2022, the theme was about the bicentennial of Brazilian independence. So they had to talk a lot about geography and history and try to connect all the history of Brazil, of the independence of Brazil, to the ocean literacy, the importance of the ocean in the whole context. 2023, last year, was about basic science for sustainable development. So they try to connect all the basic science that happens around them and within the disciplines with ocean literacy. And this year, the theme is Biomes of Brazil, Diversity, Knowledge, and Social Technologies. And it's happening today, this week, here in Brasilia. I'm in Brasilia right now. So we are bringing 15 ocean literacy clubs from Blue Schools to participate and take their voices to the public over here in a localized way, talking about the theme of the science fair and ocean literacy. So I'm bringing at least one ocean literacy club within the Blue Schools across the regions here in Brazil to show a little bit how they are working, all the themes and the importance of the students that are working in the ocean literacy clubs. So this school, José Humberto Souza do Nascimento, it's in Barcarena municipality in the state of Pará, the north region of Brazil. They are 20 kilometers away from the sea, but they are in the estuary area, in the Amazon biome. So everything over there is huge. And the river is huge. Barcarena is tiny in comparison of the biome, but it's a city known as resilient and sustainable city in Brazil and across the world internationally. So this school is through the ocean literacy lenses, trying to understand how Barcarena is climate resilient and sustainable. They are showing the community individual attitudes that may contribute to keep Barcarena as a resilient and sustainable city. So they produced some games with different challenges, like board game, that each step shows a little bit of like why Barcarena is resilient through the ocean literacy license, and some challenges. So how can you overcome these challenges, past challenges already that the city had to overcome, like the oil spills and plastic pollution that comes through the rivers. And right now they just recorded, they participated in a documentary about risk and disaster reduction from UN in celebration of the international, not celebration, but the meaningful International Day for Risk and Disaster Reduction because of the work they do in education. This other school has a ocean literacy club as well. It's located in the northeast of Brazil, in the state of Pernambuco. They have a partnership with 2 federal universities over there. So the exchange of knowledge between scientists from the university and the school is almost like daily that it happens. They talk about the microbiome, the importance of phytoplankton to a healthy ocean. Many disciplines is involved through the course of the implementation of the Blue School, and students participate and take the science fair to other schools that are far from the sea, in the inland places, to talk to students that learn through the partnership with researchers about the importance of plankton. They take this knowledge to other students from the inland schools from inland, and it's amazing what they do over there. This other school, AtlantECO Alexandre de Moraes, is in Costa Rica, is in the Midwest here in Brazil, in the state of Mato Grosso do Sul. They are talking about the biodiversity, connecting healthy ocean to healthy local biodiversity. So in the science fair that happened last week, they showed the kids, the students, all the biodiversity, the fruits, the local fruits that they have over there, that many of them they didn't even know they existed, and trying to connect with geography, art, science, traditional indigenous knowledge, and the ocean to sustain this kind of the local biodiversity. This other school, Franklin Augusto de Moura campus, is from the municipality called Cananéia, is the southeast region in the state of São Paulo. And they are one of the first blue schools here in Brazil. They still is, and they still are a blue school. And each year, the kids, the students, they go around the school to see the residue of plastic pollution, and they do some a deep sea framework, adapted deep sea framework for the school age that the kids are, to understand where the trash is coming, what kind of trash it is, to qualify, to quantify, and then all the learnings are translated into little notes in a animal shape and marine animal shape size. They write notes to the ocean, the science fair that they have over there. They collaborate, they celebrate commemorative days, like the city university taking the project outside of the school to the school streets, to the city streets, talking about what they are learning. With the plastic residue that they collect around the school, this year they did a photo shoot. So you can see the photos over here, and it is showcased at their Instagram. Please follow, like, and share. It's at Cultura Oceânica. So they are taking the exposition to other places in the city and in the state. So it's amazing. And each picture, the student that were touched by the residue history, they did all the poses and took these photographs. And last but not least, this school, the two schools, same region, is the same teacher, but in a private school, in a public school. So she has like two blue schools. She's coordinating two blue schools, but different topics, but they are interrelated because of the region and because of the topic as well. It's interconnected. So in a public school, Maria Ivone Emília dos Santos, she does the project, the Blue School project, in the theme of monitoring plastic waste on the beach. So they do the monitoring of the beach, and they find animals over there. But she embraces all the opportunities that we share to the Blue Schools that work in Brazil. So from the Aprender Explorando, that is a South America NGO, she found some lesson plans that talk about boats. So in the community, the school community, many of the students are from fishing communities. So she started to talk about the boats and working with the lesson plan, and they built a little maquettes with boats that they are related, fishing boats, commercial boats from the ports, and even historical boats, as you can see in the picture. At the same time, the private school called Synergia, she understood that the students that were interested in the biodiverse fauna, in animals. And many of them, they were talking about bird watching. So they went to the fieldwork to study the biodiversity of the birds, coastal birds that they had over there. And the importance of tourism, sustainable tourism as well. And the importance of like reducing plastic waste to keep the bird biodiversity over there, because during the monitoring of the beach, they found, the other school, the public school, found the birds with the stomach full of plastic. She took a picture, and the kids took to the private school what they are finding. And the private school, the students were like, oh, we are very keen to understand our biodiversity of the birds over here, but if you have plastic, they will die. So they are trying to understand how they can work together to the coming year. And very briefly, taking a little tip here, please reach out. It was a pleasure to be here. I wish I could take more teachers to speak with you guys, but unfortunately, English is a language barrier for most of them, so we cannot bring them. But I hope to be able to, I was able to share a little bit of the experience of them, the amazing work they are doing at their Blue Schools. And please reach out if you have any questions, if you are keen to any partnerships, or if you need some help in translate materials in different languages into Portuguese, and please just reach out. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Keiko. Now I would like to call Andrea Green from the Federal University of Santa Catarina in Brazil, and she will bring the ocean literacy along the Brazilian coast, discovering the invisible world of marine plankton. So please, Andrea.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Ana Vitória. Really nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation. So let me share my screen. Is it all right?
Yes, thank you.
Let me just put this here. Okay. Oh, sorry. So first of all, I would like to congratulate Ana Vitória, UNESCO, and all the AtlantECO team, the AtlantECO partners who worked on the development of this beautiful toolkit with a focus on ocean literacy in the Atlantic region, and also the invisible world of marine plankton. My name is Andrea Green. I'm from Federal University of Santa Catarina. I work together with Professor Andrea Freire, and I am part of the AtlantECO team. So within the AtlantECO project, our university is involved in both research and outreach activities. So between 2021 and 2023, we participated in several Taralegs expeditions along the Brazilian coast. And also we organized later on other scientific expeditions using the sailboats ECO from our university and Pangaea. So during these expeditions, during these expeditions, we held 8 major outreach events from Belém to Santa Catarina, so from the north to the south of Brazil. Call it port calls, as Ana Vitória already talked a little bit about it. So in each port call, we docked in a city, set up an entire structure to receive schools and visitors, and talked not only about the project and plankton, but also about the basic concept of ocean literacy, about our influence on the ocean and vice versa, about the importance of the ocean in our daily lives and how can we both impact and take care of the ocean. So during these port calls, we use some beautiful and educational materials provided by the AtlantECO project and the Tara Ocean Foundation, such as the microbiome and the microplastic exhibition, and also the microbiome and AtlantECO magazine. But we also use a lot of materials of our own and from our local partners, such as the 3D printing plankton, informative plates, and also a lot of plushed toys, plankton plushed toys that attract the attention of the small ones and also the big ones. Also, we had books, scientific equipment, some interactive games, and so on. And one of the things that we used a lot, and it was the curiosity that it is this tiny microscope. It's very easy to use, it's portable, it's small, and that we use to show plankton community sample in the rivers and coastal areas of each city that we hold the event with, and we make a kind of a plankton movie theaters at these port calls. So for the vast majority of our visitors, this was the first time they realized that plankton really exists. And not only as a character, a cartoon character of the SpongeBob SquarePants, but that they were real and important for us and for the environment. So it was great to be part of this discovery and to see all those amazing faces looking at the swimming plankton. And last but not least, we also donated fold scopes, microscope that It's kind of a microscope made of paper that you can use alone or together with your cell phone. And we receive a donation of Lee Carp Boss and Emmanuel Boss of approximately 100 units of those. So we distributed for the teachers during our port calls. So these is our port calls in number. We counted with the collaboration of about 20 institutions. We could attended 60 schools, summing up more than 2,000 students, 800 local residents, 200 university students, and we counted with the collaboration of 140 volunteers that they were marine science students from the universities, local universities that worked with us as monitors, did a lot of rounds of talks and conversations, press release, and so some social media posts. So it was a huge challenge for us working with a small team, but the amazing collaboration of the local partners made all the difference and possibilitated that our work was well done. So two of the main questions from teachers who participated in our activities were, where can we find educational materials about plankton? And how can I work with plankton in an easy and interesting way in my classes? And that's where the toolkit comes in to solve a great part of this gap that I have. You already know a bit about its structure. Ana Vitória already told us a little bit about it, but she asked me to speak a little bit about the, let me just take this off here, it's in front of me, sorry. But Ana Vitória asked me to talk a little bit about the lesson plans that were developed for the toolkit. So to do that, to create the lesson plans, I called two of my dear friends, Mauro de Mello Jr. from Federal Rural University of Pernambuco. I think Mauro is here listening to us. And he is one of the most creative people that I know, and also completely compromised to scientific communication. And also Catarina Marcolin from Federal University of Southern Bahia. So Mauro, Catarina, myself, and Ana Vitória, we developed 5 of these 9 lesson plans that we have in the toolkit. And together with Pedro Santos from Federal University of Pernambuco, we developed another one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the lesson plans that we developed very quickly, because I know we are late here in our time. So lesson plan 1 is the up and down of marine plankton. It's a very interesting one. The teachers and students can collect plankton and then look at them in a jar, a glass jar, and put different slides and see with a lantern. I don't know if this is the name, flashlight. They can see their reaction and understand a little bit about the changes, about the behavior of plankton. Lesson 2, what will I be when I grow up? The focus here is on mesoplankton, which is a whole community, a temporary community of the plankton, which is mainly larvae of a lot of animals that we know, such as crabs, barnacles, sea stars, mussels, that spend the time at the plankton, and then they come to reach the adult habitats. So they are going to learn about their life cycle and why it is important to learn about it. Lesson plan 3, we teach how to create their own plankton collectors. Lesson plan 4, where does the oxygen we breathe came from? And this is important to understand global maps and to identify for the children to understand global maps and to identify the areas of most productive and also to learn that not only the forests are acting at the global balance of oxygen and CO2, but also a big part of that is made by the photosynthetic algae and bacteria. And lesson plan 5, when the Amazon River meets the Atlantic Ocean, this is for them to understand the impact of river dischargers at the Atlantic Ocean. Lesson plan 7, Atlantic Guardians, that shows the importance of women in marine science history, and also the young generation, the importance of the young generation that are acting towards the ocean protection. And also at the toolkit, we have these 3 other lesson plans created by Ana Vitória, and that end up in a beautiful way. So this is what I would like to show you, and just a quick reminder as the one before me, sorry, I forgot your name. Just say, but from Blue Schools here in Brazil, we are in Brazil.
Camila Keiko.
Thank you, Ana Vitória. We are in Brazil. We speak Portuguese. Even for me, that I am in an international project, so it's a bit difficult for me to speak in English because it's not on the daily basis that I speak. So we talk Portuguese, and we really would like to see this material translate for a language. And I'm here to help also, as Kate said. Okay, this is it. Thank you very much. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you for all the speakers that presented today, for all the partners that were present here with us, for everyone that watched this webinar. We had more than 90 registrations, also 70 participants following the webinar with us during all this time. Thank you for the teachers that are interested in using this type of material in the classroom. We are very glad to have you with us today. And for the ocean literacy community that is present, because I saw many names that I know, so I saw that people are engaged as well to see this toolkit being launched. Unfortunately, we are ahead of time, so we don't have time for the questions, but you can always drop us a line because you saw the email in the last slides. This content will be available on the UNESCO YouTube very soon, so you will be able to watch it again if you need, directly there. And the link to the toolkit is on the chat, but we will send all the information for you that is registered in this webinar via email, so you can have this information in one single place. So thank you all for being present with us today. And I hope you can get inspired by this material so we can together ensure a healthier and more resilient Atlantic Ocean. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye. Bye-bye.